dark where the strange things flicker, Jennifer Hicks takes you in a little deeper.
Cryptids, UFOs, stories that chill, the truth's out there, and she's got the thrill. Welcome to creepy culture,
where the unknown comes alive.
Hey, this is Jen from Creepy Culture, and today I have Jim. What was your last name? I'm sorry.
Hoffmann, Hoffmann.
Jim Hoffmann on, and he's going to talk about some of his cryptid encounters and paranormal encounters. So, hello, Jim. How are you?
I'm all right. Thank you for having me on your show.
Thank you for coming on. I love sharing other people's encounters, you know. So, you can go ahead and start wherever you want to start, and I'll be right here.
Okay. There's two facets. I'll start with the ghostly stuff. I always believed in Bigfoot only because, you know, you think of Bigfoot as like an extension of man, or we're related to Bigfoot. Makes sense. The Dogman and stuff, never gave it much thought, but I'll come back to that. But I'm originally from Chicago, and then I moved out to California in 1995. I live in Southern California now, in the San Bernardino Mountains. And but I excuse me, in 2005, I became interested on the internet in what was known as the Boy in the Box case. It's an unsolved murder out of Philadelphia, 1957. The boy was found in a box in Northeast Philadelphia, beaten to death, naked in this bassinet box. I was just like, what's going on here? And I started researching it, and that's the first real book I ever wrote. It's called The Boy in the Box, America's Unknown Child. And I ended up, we were living in Apple Valley, California at the time when I was writing the book. And I connected with at the time, the homicide detective in charge of the case, Tom Augustine. He's deceased now. And he said, okay, I'll send you the 4 evidence boxes he sent them to me. I was like, wow. So I had those 4 boxes in my house, and I've since learned that paper, ceramic, wood, that stuff can carry energy.
Yes.
And yeah, so the boxes were there, and I mean, it included like the Boy in the Box's autopsy photos, a piece of the blanket that he was found. There was a little Indian blanket thrown over his body. Pictures of the Marguerite Davis, who, without a doubt, in my mind, she killed the boy, but I can't prove it 100%. And pictures of her and her family. And so my wife is a psychic medium. She has a TikTok channel, and she does live readings and everything. And now she said to me one day, I came home, and she said, get those effing boxes out of here. You have stirred up a hornet's nest with this lady. She's angry that you're digging this up. And so I moved the boxes out into the garage. But once those boxes came into our house, we had all kinds of poltergeist activity. From one incident, we were at the kitchen table, and we were talking about this lady, and my wife said she was like just evil, effing, be that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden we heard a crash down the hall, and we went down the hall where the master bedroom is at the end of the hall, and a picture, my wife's favorite picture, it's a ballerina picture, was on the floor in the hallway, probably about maybe 1 or 2 feet from the door. You have to understand, when you walk through the door, you're walking down the hall, you walk at the end of the hall is the door to the master. You turn right, and that picture was on that wall. So it made a 90-degree turn, and it was a large picture too, a 90-degree turn, and landed maybe a couple feet outside from the door. There's no way that just fell off the wall and bounced into the hallway. So that was an example of the kind of stuff that we went through. And there were many events. One thing I learned, we moved several times. And this spiritual activity, this poltergeist activity came with us. It didn't leave.
Oh, it followed you.
Oh yeah. And then finally, we were still in Apple Valley, just a different home. And my wife said to me, do you still have a picture of, or what'd she say? Do you still have the poster of the boy? I had an original poster from 1957 that they put up on telephone poles and stuff. And I said, yeah. She said, get rid of it. And I said, what? And she said, get rid of it. And she said, it's continuing to stir up problems here. And I said, I'm not, I had a notebook of all my work. Like I would have letters from Tom Augustine, from Bill Kelly, some of these original investigators. I'm not throwing that away. She said, well, get it out of here. So I hate to say this, but it's the truth. I'm not going to lie. I brought it to work. I'm a school teacher, brought it to work, stuck it in a drawer. And once I did that, the activity went away. And and I know people are thinking, what about the school? No issues at school. I mean, I've tuned into it. I'm going to listen, pay attention. And it's just in a drawer, and it's like it died. I don't know why. I will say the last thing I saw, my younger daughter was telling me, and this is what led to me removing, my wife telling me, get this thing out of here, this poster out of here, is my younger daughter is also a psychic medium. In fact, she does the TikTok channel with my wife. And she was being woken up in the middle of the night by a small child, coming to her and I don't know, I can't remember what it would say to her, but it would startle her and scare her. And it was a invisible, it was a spiritual thing, not physically like she sees something.
Right.
But she was getting really freaked out by it. And so it was like I believe it was a Sunday. She got up, she left the room, she came out. I was sitting on my lazy boy, and she walks up and she's like, Dad, that thing, did it again, woke me up. The boy. Now that could have been a demon. It probably was. I don't think it was the boy's spirit. I think it was this lady, and I'll explain that in a second. But I think it was her, or a demon pretending to be the boy. But when she was walking to me, I saw this, and I don't know if people have seen Ghost Adventures. I believe they call it the X camera, where it shows like a skeletal thing.
Yeah. Walking
across the floor. I think it's called the X camera.
Mm-hmm. And
I saw literally a little skeleton type thing walk from her bedroom into my bedroom. Oh. And I didn't say anything to her. It freaked me out. And I thought, oh my God, I saw it with my own eyes. And I never told her this to this day. It was right behind her when she was walking out. So there was my book, The Boy in the Box, America's Unknown Child. The third edition includes all the ghostly stuff that we went through. And I didn't really understand the level of it until I came in contact with this lady named Eileen Law Stewart. She wrote a book called The Girl in the Cellar, The Boy in the Box. I would recommend that people would read my book. Mine is the introduction. Hers is the conclusion, because what she did is she came across people who knew the family, Marguerite Davis and her daughter Martha. And if anybody's familiar with the Boy in a Box case, they've heard of M. The M short for Martha. They didn't want to use her name. We know it's now Martha Davis, and she has passed away, by the way. What was I going to say? Lost my train of thought. So this lady, Eileen Law Stewart, got the diary of Martha Davis, the M, who was the little girl. She was like 14 when the boy was murdered. He lived with her. And there's so much detail, but long story short, Marguerite, the mother, bought the child for sexual purposes. She was part of a pedophile group and a satanic worshiping group. When Eileen Law Stewart told me this, and she's had encounters too, weird activities happen with her. She's a private investigator in Philadelphia, sharp lady, and she told me this. It made sense, 100%. Okay, this case is not only a murder, it's a satanic type thing. And it made sense to me that my family went through all this crazy poltergeist and spiritual stuff. I mean, my daughter's friends would come over. Hey, do you guys have an upstairs? No, I hear this person walking through the attic and stuff like that. Now, on the other hand, there was a man named he owned the house. He built the house. Mr. Spahn, G.W. Spahn, S-P-O-H-N. He built that house. That was his retirement home, and he died, and we ended up buying that home. Mm-hmm. He was in the house, but he was there as a good spiritual entity, protecting the inhabitants and protecting the house. So there are good spirits too, you know.
Yes.
He was there to protect the dwelling, and so it felt good knowing he was there. And my daughter, her and a friend went out one day, and they were messing around with a recording, and they went out, Mr. Spahn, are you here? And you could hear him say yes. He says it really slow, yes, like that. But it's so we had the evil and we had the good, you know. So not all spirits are bad, you know. I don't necessarily want them around me, you know?
Right?
You know,
they're creepy either way.
Yeah, absolutely creepy. So, anyways, that's, you know, there have been, I've always, my wife being a psychic medium, I could tell you a couple stories. When we were living in Manteca, this before we came to the high desert, we went to this, I think it was Goodwill or something, and I saw this navy blouse, the V-cut. Guy was, I think, it was a sergeant. And I said, wow, this is cool. And my wife, Debbie, she said, yeah, you know, I wouldn't buy it. I said, why? It's cool. You know, I'm a history teacher. Why wouldn't I? I don't think it's a good idea. Well, I bought it. Well, then I hung it up in the closet. A couple days later, I came home and I went to the garage. It was on the floor of the garage, crumpled up. Oh. I picked it up. I was like, what? And I went in and I said, what is this about? And she said, that man who belongs to that blouse is so mad at his family that they gave that away like it was a piece of garbage, that he was so proud of his service. And now you have it. You got to get rid of it. And so she said he kept coming to the door. He was knocking on the door. He opened the front door. She said it was driving her nuts. So that's when she threw it out into the garage and told him basically, you know, leave me alone. So I took that to my school where I was working. Lord. And when I left, I got to know the custodian there. We talked, you know, and I was there late at night one time doing grades, whatever. And I told him the story, and I said, so I'm leaving it here in your custody. And he goes, oh, great. So right. I left it at that school. I didn't want to bring it with me. So, yeah, I mean, cloth, ceramic, wood, you know, when you go into I'm telling the people now, when you go into antique store or something, or in a garage sale even, you see something and you get a bad vibe, I would walk away. I wouldn't mess with it. You know, that stuff's real. And I saw that with my own eyes, you know. Another episode, we were in Manteca and same house. And my wife's friend had been murdered by her husband. Oh, no. Long story. They were very close. She was murdered. And my youngest daughter was like 6 months old. We put her on the bed. My wife would put pillows around her so she could nap. And we were watching TV and in the living room, and these fake rose, like a vase with roses in it, started literally moving left and right. I mean, I saw it with my own eyes. I'll never forget that. And Debbie said, "Oh my God, Devin!" And we ran into the room where she was sleeping, and she had somehow was underneath the bed, halfway underneath the bed, on her. I think she was on her stomach. I waver on that, but we were just shocked. Like, how does a 6-month-old? She couldn't crawl or anything yet. How did she roll off and get stuck under the bed? So something evil picked her up and did that to her. And we believe Laura, her friend, was warning us, go, your daughter's going to suffocate under there. So that was very strange. I'll never forget that one. I believe in, my grandpa Hoffmann was a coin collector. I'm constantly finding coins. I believe he's leaving me. And when I pick them up and I see the date, it's usually a significant date. When I published the 3rd edition of The Boy in the Box, I was walking in front of a Stater Brothers. It's a food store in Apple Valley. And I just finished publishing it. And I looked down, and I mean, what are the odds of this? A 1957 leaf penny is laying on the ground. And I picked it up and I said, no way. I mean, no way. What are the odds of that's the year the boy was killed?
Oh, wow.
And so and that's happened to me so many times. So again, not all spirits are bad. I believe my grandfather, my wife says that he's around me. He collects coins. I collect coins and so on. And, that's his way of saying I'm here,
Yeah.
And so anyways, that's, I could go on that. I want to just talk to you a little bit about the cryptid stuff, because I never, ever thought I would be writing about this stuff. I am a writer. I'm a teacher and a writer. My first book was The Boy in a Box. I've written well over 30 books. I just basically write what really interests me. And if I find a topic like Redbone, the rock and roll band, I was interested in them. I got connected with Pat Vegas, who's the bass player. And in fact, right now he's not doing too well health-wise. If people are out there, say a prayer for him. But anyways, I got to write a bunch of books with him. And I look for stuff that interests me. And I've always been interested in Bigfoot, as I said. So in my YouTube feed, I'd get Bigfoot stories and stuff like that. And then one day I got a Dogman Encounters Radio YouTube show or episode, pop into my feed. I'm like, what the hell's a Dogman? Now, I grew up with creature features and the Wolfman. The Wolfman is my favorite, one of the horror, the classic horror movies.
Yeah.
And I know, that's a guy that, turns into a werewolf and stuff. And of course, I mean, the native peoples, the Navajo, know that that's real. I thought it was fake. It was Hollywood, right?
Right.
And so I do believe it's real. But at the time I was thinking of this, so I see this Dogman, I'm thinking, what is a Dogman? And so I'm listening to this guy talk about this dog creature on 2 legs. And I'm like, no way, this is ridiculous. And I started listening a couple more. And for the next 2 weeks, I'd be at work and I'd find myself laughing, thinking about it. There's no way that that's real. Well, then I just, after 5, 10, 15 episodes, I'm like, well, everybody can't be lying.
Yeah.
Even if everybody is, or most people are wrong, even if 1 out of 100 is correct, what is this thing? Where does it come from? So that's when I decided, well, I'm going to research it and find out, raw-handed, what is the Dogman? So my first book is called My Search for Dogman, Nature's Scariest Cryptid. I would consider it the scariest one. Based on what I've learned, I'd much rather run into a Bigfoot than a Dogman.
Me
frankly.
too. Me too.
Yeah, and Mr. Black taught me that as well, and we could get into some of the nuances of their behaviors, but yeah, so I just started researching and I was just blown away. And then in my research, there have been encounters within a few miles of my house where I live in Southern California, and, so I actually got to talk to some people that saw these creatures that live here in the high desert in Southern California. And, it's, It's not that unusual. So I started to, what happened was I had listened to the episodes with Mr. Black, and I got his email, and I reached out to him, and he is the expert I use in my first book. And he is a Christian. He was a Christian. He passed away, but you know, we became friends, really good friends. We talk like once a week or so, and then what happened was after the first book, one day he called me up. He said, "I'm going to send you a package. Let me know when you get it." And he sent me a daily diary that he had kept for like 2 years, where he described, you know, on this day I saw this cryptid, whatever. There's a cryptid diary, and he said, "I want you to have it." And I called him. I said, "This is crazy. Why would you want me to have it?" He goes, "I want you to have it." He says, "I don't need to write stuff down anymore. I figured out what I need to do is when you have that feeling, you just start taking pictures, because your naked eye is not necessarily going to see anything, but the picture will."
Yes, you're right.
So I said, "I'll tell you what, I'm going to publish it to share it with the research community." I said, "I've never seen anything like it." And I did. It's called the Booger Chronicles. That's what he called the Bigfoot a booger. And so the Booger Chronicles, and it's just his daily diary, and it just blew me away. And then at that point, I started thinking, you know, he would tell me these stories, and but okay, you know, these 3 dogmen, type 1s. I didn't even know what the hell's a type 1 and type 2, type 3. And they come in, and, you know, what do you do? And he started explaining the type of firearms. Now, he was a Vietnam veteran. He worked for a government agency. He was a highly well-trained soldier. And, you know, we talked about what kind of weapons you should have if you go out in the woods. He said, "I will never let my grandchildren sleep out in my backyard anymore, you know, let alone take them into the woods now that I know what I know." In fact, when he was, I think, 12, he was near Dayton, not far from where you're at. I can't remember the town. And he said long story short, his dad had him go to the local park about 5 in the morning to put dibs on a picnic table. They were going to have some kind of like little league thing or something, and he wanted to hold it, so he had to stay there. And he said at like 5 in the morning, he's by himself, and this Bigfoot approached him and chased him all the way home. He said scared the crap out of him.
Oh man.
And scared the crap. He had to go run like 2 miles to go home, and this thing dogged him the whole way. And but anyways, so I said to him, you know, let's do a book. I said, "You have so much knowledge. Let's do a book. And, you know, how do you live with these creatures?" And he said, you know, God created man. He created these creatures. They live here too. So how do we live with them? You know, that's the key. So over his many years of living with these things, particularly in his home in Southwest Ohio, he developed these techniques, and, you know, he talks about it, and it's all in the book, which is called the Booger Chronicles Volume 2. I call the cryptids of Shangri-La. Shangri-La comes from President Roosevelt calling the USS Hornet a secret base where our B-24s bombed Tokyo. And I just made that up, and because I didn't want to give away his location. And he just goes by the name Mr. Black, just so that to protect him, his family's wife, and his dog. And you know, he talks about all kinds of things, like, you know, what's the dogman. When you approach a dogman, if you run into one, what do? I mean, you don't look him in the eye. You back away. You don't run. You have to have your head on a swivel. Where there's probably 2 or 3. And they're going to flank you, that sort of thing. He said with a Bigfoot, you run into one, just ignore them. He said they don't just leave me alone. That's their view. That's their attitude. Leave me alone. He said, unless you're down in Tennessee along the Tennessee River, where those things are like cannibalistic, he said, you know, you're good. Just leave them alone. Pretend you didn't see them, and they'll leave you alone. And he said, you know, he talked about if a dogman, you know, if you get into a scuffle with a dogman, you shoot at a dogman, he said they'll forget about it. It won't be a problem. for the most part. Some of them will follow you home. That's a different story. But he said the Bigfoot, man, the last thing you want to do is shoot at them, threaten them. You start a war with a Bigfoot, and they'll get their buddies involved. It'll be a family thing. It's like a gang war. He said, you know, Bigfoot, you want to be really careful. You only want to shoot if you have no other opportunity to get away. He said. So, anyways, that second book is all kinds of interesting. He talked about how he figured out he had a fenced in area, and sometimes they would come up to the fence too close for comfort for him, and he had what he called bird bombs for his shotgun. I'm not a firearm guy, but he would fire these things over their heads and scare them. And he said he'd only do it if they crossed that line. And he realized too he would not go where they didn't want him to be. And so he developed this rapport with them, this truce with them, that, you know, don't come to this section here, leave me alone and I'll leave you alone. And he said it took him a couple of years to figure that out, but it started to work, because in the beginning he'd go to work at 4:30 in the morning, and there'd be a dog man sitting there, and his wife's in the house, and it's like, what do you do? He's got to go to work, you know. And
that's terrifying.
Oh yeah, he said it was really crazy. But he said that was you know, he learned you know, they do. He said if they're local, he talks about there's locals and there's the rogue ones. The rogue ones are the ones that cause the trouble. You know, they're going to eat your animals. They're going to threaten you. They're maybe they're younger. They're sowing their oats, as he would say. The locals, though, they're going to leave you alone. They don't want to be bothered. They know what'll happen if they harass you. They might get hunted down and killed, and they just want to live, you know, in harmony. Leave me alone, kind of. That includes Dogman and Bigfoot. The locals will pretty much leave you alone. So he said the ones that are trouble are probably rogue ones moving through, you know, in an area. So I went down where I live. It's the San Bernardino Mountains and the San Bernardino National Forest. I literally can drive 8 miles. I'm in the forest. And that's where I do a lot of my research. I walk along the Pacific Crest Trail. I walk along dry creek beds, Deep Creek, the Deep Creek trailhead, and just looking for tracks. And I you know, I don't really find a lot, but man, when we had the line fire 2024, I found all kinds of weird stuff, weird tracks, even lizard type. I can't even explain it, like a lizard type print, huge thing, had to be like 8 feet tall, whatever it was. I did find Bigfoot tracks. Usually only find one, but I found a series of 6, I think, and I documented it where you could see that it's clearly a Bigfoot. And they were about 6 feet apart each stride.
Dang.
And they were not, you know, people walk side by side, humans walk side by side, their feet, you know, left, right, left, right. The Bigfoot doesn't. It's heel over heel.
Yes.
It's very strange. Very strange.
It's a straight line track, and
exactly.
Yeah, I found a few myself. I found a whole track line here, which shocked me. And then the Dogman. The Dogman is a whole other story.
Yes.
They're way more terrifying than a Bigfoot.
Yes.
And for a long time, I've always believed in Bigfoot. But when I heard people talking about Dogman, I was like, what in the heck? There ain't no way. You know, there's a werewolf-looking thing from the movies walking around on 2 feet. I thought it was a misidentified Bigfoot, is what I thought for a really long time. But I can tell you in the last year, for sure, they're their own thing, and they're very different from a Bigfoot, and they're also found in the same areas.
Yes, he said that they'll generally hunt together. They'll get along. They cohabitate. When I was in, I'm sorry, they coexist, not cohabitate. But when I was in Tehachapi, I was driving from San Francisco. My daughter, I had a U-Haul truck. I was in the pass. I looked. Now people aren't going to believe me, so I'm just being honest with you. But my spirit guide said, we're going up the mountain. It's Highway 58, going up the mountain, heading east. my spirit guide said, you're going to see a dog man today. And I thought, yeah, right. You know, is that really even, did I really even hear that? And my spirit guide said, you'll know when to look. So I'm in the right lane. I totally forgot about it. All of a sudden I look to the right and I'm at more or less the peak of the mountain pass. And I look down, and maybe 100 yards down, I could see a creek, and there's I call it a chow type dog man drinking right out of the stream on all fours. I looked at it for about maybe 5, 6, 7 seconds. I was startled. And if you don't think about like, wow, dude, pull over, take a picture. I wasn't thinking that. I was so shocked. I kept driving. But what I know now, I would have pulled over, grabbed my phone, and taken a picture or two. I just wasn't thinking that way. And
You usually don't. When you see something like
yes,
that, you're just
yeah,
your brain's just trying to comprehend what you're looking at.
yes, I know what I saw. It wasn't a bear or anything like that. And there have been dogman sightings in Tehachapi, California. So when I was over this was probably 6 months ago, I was exploring the Pacific Crest Trail. Deep Creek was dry. I crossed the creek, and I go to this area I call Dogman Woods. It's a very thick little patch of woods, and I just get this feeling like they're there. Well, I'm by myself, and I'm walking north, and to my south or west are the woods, and I hear this loud tree snap. Loud. I mean, it wasn't a twig, and it was loud enough, and I thought, okay, it was a branch. It's going to hit the floor of the woods. And I stopped and I listened. I didn't hear anything. So I kept walking, and maybe 20 seconds later, another tree snapped. And I stopped and I turned, and nothing. I didn't hear anything, like a branch snapped and fell. And then my I don't know what you want to call it. A voice said to me, start taking pictures, because that's what Mr. Black would tell you. Start taking pictures when something weird like that happens, or the hair on your arms go up. Unless you're feeling you're in danger, he would say, if you're in danger, get out of there. But if you feel like something's going on, but you don't feel in danger, start taking pictures. So I did. And I went home and I examined them, and I can see what I think. And now pictures are subjective. I see a dogman figure, like at the head leaning up to the right of a tree, and there's another photo of pups in the tree. And I remember when those snaps went off, I mean, I was by myself, and I wasn't really afraid, but I knew it was significant. And I thought, when I think back, I think it was the creature saying to me, we're here, we see you, please leave us alone. That was the message I got. So that was really interesting. So people will say, it's your imagination, whatever. But,
no, it's not.
I know what and I've got the pictures. I could send you those if you want to see them.
Sure.
Again, it's subjective, but I think you could see the head. You could see the pups in the tree. And there's another one, I call it a demon, and it looks like it's a face. And my older daughter, who has somewhat of the intuition as well, the psychic medium abilities, like her mother and her younger sister, said, no, Dad, I think that's an Indian woman. And she's very sad. And I said, really? And she said, yeah. And I never talked to her about this. And I researched, and I had known the Indians were all over this place. And by the way, I say Indians because my friend was the drummer for Redbone. He's born on a reservation. He said, don't call me a Native American. That's a white man's term. That's what I'm an Indian. So I say this respectfully, but he said, I looked up, and sure enough, there was a village, an Indian village, maybe a half a mile away. And these people had been slaughtered by another Indian tribe.
Oh.
And I thought, wow, maybe this lady was, dragged into the woods and killed. I don't know. That was very strange. But I had a guy reach out to me on TikTok. He's a Navajo tracker, and he lives down the hill, down in San Bernardino area. I'm up in the mountains. And he said, I've watched some of your TikTok clips, and he said, I think that you've run into some skinwalkers. That's my opinion based on the tracks. And he said, be careful. And he also said, Dogman is dangerous. Be careful.
They
So,
are. And
yeah.
you're right when you say, see, that just happened to me over this past weekend. I was in the Land Between the Lakes with Monsters Unleashed.
Oh, yes.
And I got the creeps where my hair stood up, and I heard something crunching through the leaf litter, pretty heavy. You could tell it was bipedal, and it sounded like something threw a rock at a tree and it bounced off a tree. And I couldn't see a thing, so I stood there and I took pictures. And
Wow.
that's how you usually end up seeing what it was. It's like you can't see them with your eyes. Sometimes you have to take pictures and they'll show up in the pictures that you take.
Linda Gottfried, who I consider I call it respectfully the dog mother of Dogman research. I mean, she started it all. She says there's proof of, and I believe her, I've seen it, of this interdimensionality where they can go from one dimension to another. I believe that's true. And Mr. Black talks about their fur being absorbing light.
Yes,
The fur absorbs light, and went by that technically they're invisible.
they are.
Because the reason why I see something is that the light bounces off of it. If it doesn't, then it's invisible technically. So
And you're
very,
right. I think you're right. And I think they're right because I've had that very same thing. I told you about
yeah,
that
yeah,
happen to me. And not only that, but I think that's why you have to take pictures of what area
yeah,
you feel like they're
yes.
coming from, because I swear they show up in the pictures.
And that's why they're always going to be, well, not always, but they'll generally be fuzzy
Yeah.
because it's a dimensional thing, interdimensional thing.
I'm
And
on that page too. Yes.
yeah, one thing I'll say is I learned this, again, people aren't going to believe me, but I thought to myself, wow, I wonder if I could use Google Earth and search for these cryptids and maybe find something, because these photos are taken and who knows what they capture on photo, or Google Maps, either one. Or
Right.
the Google Maps would be, they have cars with these cameras on in them.
Mm-hmm.
Google Earth is a satellite. Well, anyways, it was January, I think it was 2018, and it was New Year's Day, like 12:30 in the morning, and I couldn't sleep, and I thought, okay, I'm going to try it. And I went to a location in Taylorville, Illinois, along Lincoln Highway, where it crosses the Sangamon River. People can look this up. And I went, and I'm telling you what I saw from above. You see this dog-like creature following this guy. Now, it was in the day, and it was at night. So this picture was old. But I said, holy cow. Again, I did not think, dude, take a screenshot of this. Oh my God. I wasn't thinking that. I was just like flabbergasted. Holy cow. This is not a man following a man. I could tell this is a dog-like creature following this person. God help, I don't know if someone got killed. I don't know. That didn't look, I got creeped out when I saw it, to be honest with you. It's like
Mm-hmm.
he was stalking this guy. But anyways, I started doing that. And like, for example, Germantown, Ohio has had many, many famous encounters, a Germantown werewolf or something, I think they call it. You would know better than me. And there's one road, I think it's called Germantown Road. And I went and I used Google Images, and, I'm going down, and I have the picture. I sent it to Mr. Black, and you could see two dogman creatures on all fours looking at this car in curiosity as it drives by, and they're under a shade tree.
You know
And I'm
what?
like, holy cow.
I gotta
Well,
tell you something.
yeah, go ahead.
Remember I told you before we were recording that something threw a rock at me while I was hiking?
Yes,
Guess where
yes.
I was at?
Germantown Road, I don't know.
I was in Germantown Reserve.
Wow. Oh, there's definitely something there. Well, let me tell you this. I sent it to Mr. Black, and he's the one that taught me, you have to really examine photos, because with this interdimensionality, it may not be clear. That's why a lot of people debunk it. But he goes, did you see, if you look at that, he goes, there's a Bigfoot standing right in between them, smiling. And I looked, I said, you're right. You could see it grinning. It's standing right behind, like in between the two. And it's standing there, and they're all watching this car drive by. I was just blown away. And so, and I've done that a couple of times. My daughter lived up in San Francisco. The Dogman is in, I'm sure Bigfoot to a degree, but Dogman, they're in urban areas too. And in fact, I'm flying out today to go up there, but she lived in Daly City, and there's a Dogman Encounters Radio has an account. Someone said they saw a Dogman in Daly City. I was blown away. But when you go to Daly City, excuse me, that area of California, it's very hilly, a lot of thick trees, dense. Of course, you could have animals live there because it's the Pacific Crest Trail runs right through there. Yep. So yeah, absolutely. You know, and I've taken pictures. I go online. So what I'm saying to your audience is they can go online if they see or they hear an account. Yeah, I was at 1586 Ardmore, Glendale Heights, Illinois. You know, go to that location. Use Google Google Maps. Use Google Earth. Check it out. You'd be surprised. You might find something.
You're right. Yep, that's a good idea. And I can't believe you just said Germantown, because when we were talking earlier, that's the first time we ever talked, and I didn't even tell you where I was at.
Yeah, no, Germantown is a famous account, and anybody that knows anything about, you know, the Dogman, and you hear about that, I think they call it the werewolf, but anyways, that's a, you know, but you guys have had all kinds of, you know, like lizard type people, swamp creatures.
Yep, there's a lizard person too. Yes.
And you know, and it's not all in the Southwest where the Ohio River is. It's, you guys have it all over in the Northeast, the East, the Northwest. I understand there's like a bunch of Bigfoot sightings lately in Ohio somewhere.
Yeah, up north, up like south of Akron, I believe.
Something like that.
I think they're just moving around right now, but yeah, there's quite a few sightings in a very few days that I was seeing on TikTok and social media. Yeah, they're moving around.
Yeah, so I just go out. You know, I've written many books. If they go to Amazon, just type in Jim Hoffmann, you could see the different books. I write about ghosts. I write about, you know, rock bands, biographies, and now cryptids is my new focus. I even wrote a couple books about my wife's life. She believes in past lives and all that. But that's what I do. And then for my TikTok, I go out, and I'm so blessed. I live right here. I can go into the mountains within 30 minutes. I can go into the mountains. And I'm trying to branch out, trying to find somebody. I got a guy down in, or he's in Baldy Mesa, which is like west of me, maybe 20 miles. I'm hoping to run into somebody. I don't have a firearm. I'm going to get a firearm because I'm usually by myself, but I would like to get somebody to go with me, and you know, go into a little more sketchy areas. I just don't want to do it alone, you know. I just
definitely don't want to do that by yourself. Yeah. And trust me, get a bigger gun, because there's several occasions where I had a 40 cal with me, and stuff happened, and I was like, this gun ain't big enough. This gun's not big enough. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I was told by talking to an Army veteran, he said a 45 cal S and W, he told me, if I'm saying it right, that's what he told me. I told him what I wanted to do, and he said that's probably a good piece. Now, Mr. Black, in his in the Cryptids of Shangri-La Volume 2, he talks about specifically like kind of lighting you should have, the weapons you should have. He talks about all that in his book. But I'm going to definitely get a firearm. But right now I'm more concerned about just getting somebody else to go with me. So that's where I'm at right now. I'd love to talk more about some of the things I've encountered. I got to get going though, but I appreciate you having me on, and I'd love to come back sometime.
Yeah. Definitely come back.
Thank you very much for having me. And if I run into anything, I'll send you some pictures after we hang up. So you can take a look at them. You can, you know, the Dogman Woods pictures. I can send you those. I'll send you the picture of the lizard type thing. Sure. Some guy told me it was a mountain lion, and I'm like, I just don't. I know I'm open to it. You know, I'm not an expert, but it doesn't look like a mountain lion print to me.
Nobody's an expert on anything, I don't think.
Yeah.
We're all learning, but the pictures that you send, can I put them on the video?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
Okay.
I'll send them in a couple minutes.
And the Booger Chronicles, is that a book that we can?
Yeah, they're books. Yeah, they're books. The
Okay.
Booger Chronicles, there's volume 1, 2, 3, and 4. 4 I just published. It's basically images that I've taken of tracks in the San Bernardino Mountains. It's a fairly short book. And then it also, my buddy and I went up to the San Bernardino Mountains near Big Bear Lake, and he took a snapshot, and I believe it's a dog. It would be a puppy in the trees. To me, I can see it, but some people would say, it's just shadows, whatever. If I think of it, I'll send that one to you too as well.
For sure. And you said you can buy them on Amazon?
Yeah, Amazon.com. Yeah.
Awesome. All right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time to come on and share your encounters and your experiences. I really appreciate it.
Oh, no, thank you. I appreciate you having me. Have a good day.
You too. Thank you.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.